It's time for the Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast. Powerful and liberating business strategies you can start in 5 minutes or less. Now, here's your host, Dean Soto.
Hey, this is Dean Soto, founder of freedomin5minutes.com. And we're here again with another Freedom in 5 Minutes. Today's topic is this. You can actually make money with a religious app. That and more coming up. All right, cool. So this is Freedom in 5 Minutes. This is one of the things that I've been wanting to do for quite a while. If you can't tell, the audio is a little bit different. It's because I set up my studio again. And I get the pleasure of talking with one of my closest friends and entrepreneur, Mr. Devin Rose. Devin, you're one of the first. You're not the first, but you're one of the first interviews. The only other person who I've interviewed on this podcast is Mr. Oliver Kelso, and that's only because he was actually staying with me over here. And I need to turn off this Discord. So while you're introducing yourself, Mr. Devin Rose, I would love to turn that Discord off, but kind of give an idea of what you do and just how we've met and some of the things that you're doing right now.
Yeah, totally. And I listened to all your podcast episodes, so I heard that interview with your other friend, and I really liked that. Oh. So yeah, hello everyone. I'm Devin Rose, and Dean and I have been friends for a long time. We've done a few different sort of joint ventures together, none of which really took off, but we got to know each other, and I've benefited a lot from our conversations. Dean was the one who convinced me that I needed to have an email list. This is back, 7 years ago or something, 6 years ago. I didn't have an email list, and that's been a really big step for me because it opened up a lot of opportunities. So I am a full-time software developer. That's my day job. Been doing that for 18 years, live in Central Texas. I work at a robot company. And then on the side though, I've been a Catholic author. So I've written a book in the Catholic audience. And then most recently, about three and a half years ago, made a mobile app. And it is for praying a novena. A novena is a particular type of Catholic devotion, and this is a very niche market here. This is not only for Catholics, so it's religious, but Catholics who want to pray this particular kind of devotion that stretches over 9 days. So me and a buddy who's actually a neighbor of mine, he's not Catholic. He and I partnered up on it, which was another thing that Dean had taught me years ago, and that was, hey, why don't you partnering with people is a very powerful way to go. And I took that, and he and I have done that, and it's been really cool.
That is awesome, man. Yeah, it was cool because just listening to the journey, because I remember years ago when we first met, when I was doing one of my little side projects called Productive Catholic, and how we had met, and then how just from the email list you started seeing. I knew you obviously from the books that you had written, and I'd love to talk about all of this stuff because it definitely goes along with the whole Freedom in 5 Minutes, making those really powerful 5-minute decisions, powerful 5-minute changes. But I just remember all of those things that you actually, because a lot of people would take the advice with a grain of salt, and every time we've talked or just came up with an idea that had potentially a massive result, you always took it. And so let's start with your book real quick. So how did you get started? What was like the key thing that made you decide I'm going to do this, and why?
Yeah, so I wrote a book back probably 8 years ago now, 9 years ago, and I did not grow up Catholic. I grew up atheist, so I had a big conversion to the Catholic faith at the end of college, basically. I had a bunch of problems, social anxiety disorder, panic attacks, depression. Ultimately, that led me to leave atheism and turn to God, became Catholic. And then about, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 years after that, I had talked with a lot of people about, why I became Catholic and listened to them about why they were Catholic or why they weren't. And I wrote all those different ideas down in a book. I'd never been published. I didn't know how that would be, but Amazon had just rolled out their self-publishing and print on demand through CreateSpace. So I did self-publish the book, and then a Catholic publisher saw that I had published it because I sent it to a bunch of blog friends. This was the heyday of the blogosphere in like 2010, 2011. And it got on a Catholic publisher's radar, and they wanted to publish a new version of it. And that's what happened, and the book became kind of a bestseller in the Catholic world.
That's awesome. So what were when you even decided, why did you decide to do the self-publishing over non-self-publishing? Like, what was that was that a pretty quick kind of thing, or was that something that you had to think about for a while? Why did you decide to do that?
Yeah, good question. So I sent a book proposal to 3 or 4 Catholic publishers that I knew. I had books by these publishing houses, and I thought, oh, okay, well, maybe one of them will publish it. They all rejected my book proposal. And I thought, well, sure, I don't know if my book's any good. I've never written a book, never thought that I could write one. So I thought, well, hey, that self-publishing is an option. I had a blog, so I had a little bit of a platform. I didn't have an email list yet. I wasn't on that train yet, but I had some blog friends. And so that's then what led to me doing it. Then this other Catholic publisher, who I didn't even know had a publishing house, they were known for their radio shows and such. They reached out to me and said, we want to publish it. Now, from my perspective, this was great because that would lend me credibility in the space. And I thought maybe eventually I'll go full time in this whole Catholic thing. I've not done that. I may never, I don't know. But that's what led me to go the self-publishing route, which was a good move.
That's great. Oh, I love it. So now you're doing apps. So you had been doing some entrepreneurial stuff on the side. You've been doing development just for a long time. Now you're publishing an app. It's funny because part of the topic of this is that a lot of people, at least from my perspective, would never think that you could make any type of money off of a religious app, whatever religion that is. And obviously there's some value that you give with this app that whether that a lot of people just wouldn't know, why would I want to subscribe to that? What does the app do? Why did you do it? And then I want to ask some of the the key things. What was the one? I'm going to ask this after, but I'm going to ask something based off of the 5-minute kind of something that you've done with the app that you just saw that was blown away. So, what exactly does this app do that makes it so valuable to people?
Yeah, so this app solves a problem that I myself had as a Catholic. As I mentioned, these novenas are 9-day prayers. You're supposed to say this particular prayer or set of prayers that can change every day for 9 days. Well, try to do anything for 9 days, and you forget what you're doing. You forget what day you're on. You forget where the prayer was. Maybe it's on a pamphlet or book. Maybe it's online. So this originally started, then I thought, well, I could write an app. Computers are good at remembering things like what day it is and figuring out, compiling what that prayer is each day. It's a mechanical type of process. So I thought, well, I'll write an app for it. Now, initially I thought, I want this to be the kitchen sink app for Catholics. So I want this to be, you go to this app every day and it's got the Catholic news. It's got the saint of the day. It's got the readings for the day from the Bible. And I talked to my buddy, who's my business partner on it, and he said, what if we just do one thing? What's the one thing you would want? And I thought, well, that would be this novena to remind you of when to pray. By the way, I was getting a little bit of feedback, Dean.
Yeah, it just kind of clipped a little bit, but go ahead. You should be.
But you're not getting any feedback.
No.
Okay, sorry to interrupt there. So this then is how the Novena app developed, and me and my buddy were both programmers. So that was an advantage we have. And we said, why don't we just make this app, get it on the App Store? We'll start with just iOS and iPhone. We did that, released it, and then it was free. There was no in-app purchase. You could pray novenas with it. We got feedback from people, and we went from there to iterate on it. Eventually, we figured out how to monetize it. And now it's actually been successful with, many thousands of users.
That is awesome. That one thing, that decision to do that one thing is one, it's super hard, right? And then, but the fact that you listened to your business partner and actually did it, that's pretty bold and pretty powerful, man. Like what, so with that app, you've obviously seen subscriber growth. We talk about it every now and then. What has been the most surprising thing, like once you decided to do something with that app, what was the most surprising thing once that app had been going, that when you made that decision to do some kind of change, some kind of thing, that delivered massive results?
Yeah, so our app kind of went along. We had, probably like 20 new users per day would find the app. And it slowly grew. We probably had a few hundred monthly active users. That was about where we were at. So by no means was this a hit or anything like it. We just kept plugging away at it, getting more feedback from people, implementing it, and one piece at a time, we made the app better. I added more novenas on the back-end side, so it's a little back-end database. And then we implemented some things where the users could share the app and invite other people to pray a novena at the same time as them, basically, which some people want to do. They want to pray together. When we did this, then we started ticking up. We started ranking for some certain terms in the App Store. So when people were searching for Catholic prayers or novenas or something like that, it would show up. One of the big turning points happened, though, about, a year ago. We had made a website. The website, we decided at first we didn't need a website. Then we said, well, we want to have some place to point people to. So we made a website that had the novenas in, as separate web pages on the site. And then there was links into the app, so people could download the app if they wanted to pray that novena using the app instead of the website. At first, we made this website with medium.com, which, many of your readers or listeners are no doubt familiar with Medium, but it's like a blogging platform.
Yeah.
So a lot of people host their website on Medium. That's fine, but what we didn't realize was we were not doing well in Google SEO, search engine rank, in part because we were on Medium. Mm-hmm. That's what the conclusion we came to. We migrated to our own website and did some basic SEO optimization. So we made the page load fast. We made sure that when they went to that page, it was exactly what they wanted, this particular prayer, all these things. And we noticed several of our pages began to rank in the top 10 results on Google for that search term. Mm. From that, then, we began to grow our app probably by a factor of 5x.
So awesome.
And suddenly we had thousands of monthly active users, then tens of thousands of monthly active users, which is where we're at today. So we went from a few hundred every month. Now we have tens of thousands monthly active users.
Wow. Wow. So just off of that one decision to go from Medium to your own self-hosted, I'm guessing WordPress site, you were able to make some minor changes in your SEO that are just basically best practices that what you should do, and now those same prayers, that same content now is generating basically free revenue for you, free advertising.
Yeah, totally. And we followed the Dean Soto model too. For this website, they can download the app. They also can join our email list.
Yeah.
And the email list has what Russell Brunson, who's a marketing guy, it has what's called a soap opera sequence. Mm-hmm. So I send them one email per day for 9 days in an autoresponder sequence that tells a story with little cliffhangers each day that leads them through praying their first novena. Because our goal with this whole website and app is ultimately to help people to pray.
Yeah, exactly.
And if the user then doesn't ever engage, right, they install the app and they never pray, or they go to the website and never pray, then we've not succeeded in our mission.
Yeah.
Right. So this soap opera sequence, by the end of it now, they have downloaded the app, they've prayed a novena with it, and they are an engaged user. Mm-hmm. So that has been, we've gotten a really good, any replies to those autoresponder emails go right to me. Mm-hmm. And every day I get emails from people, sharing with me prayer requests, problems they're having, etc.
I love it. That's so cool, man. That is great. And extremely powerful, because it could have been something where, you were too scared to make that change, because that's a pretty big change to go from medium.com, which, it's hosted, but it's already up there, to make a change that you don't know it's actually going to make an effect. That does take time, right? The decision might have been quick. However, the actual implementation of moving everything over takes some time. So that's and Dean, with that too, I was, I'd had a blog for 14 years and I was pretty soured on the SEO game. Mm-hmm. I didn't think it was possible to really rank on Google. Mm-hmm. And so the only thing that tipped us off was, of all of our novenas web pages, basically, that were on Medium, one of them started ranking on Google. And we noticed that. And we noticed that people went to it because Medium will send you a digest every day or week of how many people are going to your page. And we thought, why is this one ranking? Who knows? We don't know why. But we thought, if that one's ranking, what if we can get other ones to rank? Yeah. And that's what led us down the path. That is cool. Well, that's super helpful. That is super helpful just to hear. I want to keep on going, obviously, but there's a time limit on these podcasts. So if you could give advice to one business owner on just taking the time, taking the 5 minutes to do something, what advice would you give to that one thing where they could do it themselves, or they could just keep on doing what they're doing, versus actually just taking the action to, whether it's to outsource, whether it's to make a change in their business, test a new advertising thing? What advice could you give to them?
Yeah, actually, this is something I am planning on doing right now. And that's, we've now solidified, whenever there's a particular novena prayer to be started, I have this whole list of things I need to do. To send push notifications to the app, to email the email list, to update the special link I have in a thing called branch.io, which can deep link into the app, update Facebook, Twitter. There's this whole thing, and that process ends up taking me about 30 to 45 minutes every time. That's not the best usage of my time. And so the next thing that I want to do is actually to simply document that process and then hire a virtual assistant to do it.
Love it. That's what I'm talking about. Well, you come to the right place, my friend. But yeah, that concept, I mean, it's when you do that, I was just showing you the new Freedom in 5 Minutes site. There's a business process scorecard on there that when you punch in the numbers, it shows you just like how much lost opportunity you have when you're doing things like that yourself. That even if you were to take what you're doing right there and hand it off to a $20 an hour, $50 an hour employee, oftentimes it's even better than if you did it yourself. Man, getting all those notifications. I gotta
You're a popular guy, Dean.
Not really. But you see how crazy it is that if the amount of opportunity you can lose because of that. Because you could be doing something much more strategic. An email from you, spending that 45 minutes drafting an email to some leader in your niche, it's much more valuable than 45 minutes of that stuff, because that strategic partnership that you make with that other leader can bring in a ton of other revenue. So I'm excited. That's a great way to think. Obviously, we think very much alike, and hence why you're one of my longtime friends.
Yeah, man. Hey, I love it. This has been good, and I've got more stuff to talk to you about too on this, including how we monetize the app. So yep. I want to be back in on the Freedom in 5 minutes.
Yeah, for sure. I want everyone to hear how your pricing changes made a nice significant increase in revenue as well. So we'll definitely have you back for sure. All right, everyone, you can find more about Devin Rose by going to www.heroicvirtuecreations.com. That's www.heroicvirtuecreations.com. Go check that out. He has a couple of different courses, and he also has the Novena app, the Pray Novenas app. You can go check that out on iTunes. Pray Novenas app, and it is a pretty cool little app, especially if you're Catholic. So go check that out, and I can't wait to have Devin on again in the next Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast. Now, head over to www.freedomin5minutes.com and register for our free masterclass and discover how to start systemizing and automating your entire business 5 minutes at a time. We'll see you next time on the Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast.